In this video, I will talk about special angles. In other words, those angles in the unit circle, how to express them in this diagram. First of all, let's label. This is a 0, pi over 2. This is a pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. For reference angle alpha, we have pi minus alpha, pi plus alpha, and 2 pi minus alpha. Suppose this time we use pi over n stand for the reference angle. So we have a pi minus pi over n. Here, pi plus pi over n. 2 pi minus pi over n. Let's work this out. If I have pi minus pi over n, this is over 1. Then remember we have a over b plus or minus c over d. Your denominator multiply bd, then cross multiply. You have ad plus or minus bc. So denominator multiply 1 times n is n. Cross multiply, you will get n pi minus pi. Then take pi out, we get n minus 1 pi over n. In other words, for this part, I can write down n minus 1 pi over n. For pi plus pi over n over 1, denominator multiply, then cross multiply, you will get n pi plus pi. We take a pi out, you get the n plus 1 pi over n. So here, you will get n plus 1 pi over n. I have a 2 pi minus pi over n. This is over 1. Denominator multiply will be n. Cross multiply, you will get 2 pi n minus pi. So we take a pi out, you will get 2n minus 1 pi over n. So this one, I can write down 2n minus 1 pi over n. So this pi over n, this part, n minus 1 pi over n plus 1 pi over n, 2n minus 1 pi over n, shows the angle for the unit circle. So let's draw a diagram for unit circle angles. You will have this is 1, 0, 0. Here, -1, 0, 0. This, you will get 0, 1, undefined. And here is a 0, -1, undefined. We know for coordinate is C as a T. Label, this is a 0, 2 pi. This will be pi over 2. This is a pi. And 3 pi over 2. First quadrant, second, third, fourth. And then you can write down all students take calculus. First quadrant, this is a pi over n. This will be n minus 1 pi over n. N plus 1 pi over n. Then you have 2n minus 1 pi over n. This diagram is in the closed interval from 0 to 2 pi. Now, let's draw the diagram in the closed interval from negative pi to pi. For this closed interval, we will change into two parts, 0 to pi, and also from negative pi to 0. We will draw 1, 2, 3, 4. All students take a calculus. And here is this is a 0. This will be a pi. So we have a pi over n. This is a n minus 1 pi over n. Then from negative pi to 0, we label here is pi over 2. This will be negative pi over 2. We will get opposite of pi over n is negative pi over n. Here, you will get negative n plus 1 pi over n. If you want to draw the quadrantal angle, you can label here it's 1, 0, 0. Here, negative 1, 0, 0. This one is a 0, 1, undefined. Here, 0, negative 1, undefined. This will be the diagram for unit circle angles in the closed interval from negative pi to pi. Let's draw a diagram in the closed interval from negative 2 pi to 2 pi. We will do two parts. One is from 0 to 2 pi, and from negative 2 pi to 0. We have a pi over n. This is a n minus 1 pi over n. Here is a n plus 1 pi over n. Then 2n minus 1 pi over n. This is from 0 pi, then 2 pi. We know here is a pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. Then we will draw the diagram in the closed interval from negative 2 pi to 0. This is a 0, so here is a negative pi over 2. Negative pi. Then negative 3 pi over 2. So we get a negative 2 pi. We will get opposite of this. You will get negative pi plus 1 pi over n. The opposite of this will go to the second quadrant. That is a negative n minus 1 pi over n. Opposite of that go down is negative pi over n. Then this go up. You will get negative 2n plus 1 pi over n. Let's check the pattern. Here is a minus 1, minus 1 for the second quadrant, and then the fourth quadrant. Here's minus 1. For the first and then the third quadrant, you could say plus 1, plus 1. If it's a pi, I will use n plus 1. If it's negative pi, I use negative n plus 1. Here, for negative 2 pi, it will be negative 2n plus 1. So for the first and then the third quadrant, you have a plus 1. Then for the second and then the fourth quadrant, it's a -1. As long as you know the pattern, then you can write down any interval. For example, from -3 pi to 4 pi. Let's try to write down the diagram in the closed interval from -3 pi to 4 pi. Anyway, you have to remember from 0 to 2 pi. Then we will move on to this 4 pi. So have a 2 pi, then go here is a 3 pi. Then go back here is a 4 pi. So how to write down the pattern for 3 pi? You will use 3n minus 1 pi over n. Then here, 3n plus 1 pi over n. For this 4 pi, you will write down here is 4n minus 1 pi over n. You cannot write down 4n plus 1 pi over n because we stop at 4 pi. But this 2 pi, you can write down over here. That is 2n plus 1 pi over n. Because for the first and the third is a plus. For second and fourth is a minus. For the negative angle, you have 0, so you have negative pi, negative 2 pi. Then go here is a negative 3 pi. Okay, let's go to this negative pi. You will have negative n minus 1 pi over n. Then you can write down here is a negative n plus 1 pi over n. For this negative 3 pi, you cannot do the negative 3n minus 1 pi over n because you stop at negative 3 pi. So we stop there. Over here, you can write down negative 3n plus 1 pi over n. Then for this negative 2 pi, you will get negative 2n plus 1 pi over n. Then this part, you will get the negative 2n minus 1 pi over n. The diagram is very useful in the IB exam when specific domain is given.